What's up, everybody? I'm Allie Burns from Picks and Parlays, and welcome to the Picks and Parlays Power Hour. We're right here on the Max Wagers Network every day at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're talking some college football. We're talking some pro football. We got a lot to unpack today, and I've got two expert handicappers to do it with. I've got Ross Benjamin coming on the show and Nick Parsons. Very, very exciting. Everybody just go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications before we get going along here. We're going to start out in college football. All right, we got Florida and Tennessee, and I've got Ross Benjamin here to talk some Florida, Tennessee with me. How's it going, Ross?
It's going good, Ellie. Off to a 20-11 start with my football picks, combined NFL and college football. So encourage the viewers out there, jump in, making some money. I told you last week, and I'll tell you again, you're missing out on money.
No one ever likes to miss out on money. So check out Ross Benjamin. I'll give you some promo codes to discounts on his premium plays a little later in the show. We're going to talk number 22, Florida, at number 12, Tennessee. Florida's 2-1 for their straight up record, but only 1-2 against the spread, whereas Tennessee is 3-0 and 3-0 against the spread on this one. I am showing Tennessee minus 11 and the total 62.5. So how are we going to play this one, Ross?
Well, Florida started out the year with an upset win at home against Utah, and everybody was jumping on their bandwagon. And then the following week, they hosted Kentucky as a 6-point home favorite, and they lose the game outright, 26-16. How do they rebound from that? With a listless effort last week as a 23.5-point home favorite against South Florida. They eked out a 31-28 uninspiring win, Ellie. So it's since that big win on opening day, they've not played very well. And Tennessee, on the other hand, quite the opposite. 3-0 straight up in ATS in their last three. They've outscored their opponents. I should say 3-0 straight up in ATS to start the year, and they've outscored their opponents by a combined 156-43 and outgained them by over 200 yards a game. Look, Florida's owned this head-to-head series of late, 5-0 the last 5 versus Tennessee, yet the Vols are 11-point favorite, and they're begging you to take the underdog Florida Gators here, and I'm not falling for the bait. I'm taking Tennessee minus the 11 over Florida.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where we have 61% of the 59% of the cash and 61% of the tickets are on Florida, and this 9.5 went to a 10.5, and now it's at an 11. So if all the money and all the ticket is on Florida, why is it the line moving the way that it is the question. So I'm with you. We're going to roll with Tennessee on this one. That is the pick. People, don't forget to check out Ross Benjamin and his best bets over at picksandparlays.net and use that promo code NFL. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Stephen Cuffey's taking Tennessee as well. All right, so up next on the docket, we're going to talk Arkansas at Texas A&M. We got A&M at a minus 2.5 on this one. The total's of 48.5. What are we looking at here?
Well, I think the wrong team is the favorite, to be quite honest with you. Even though I respect the bookmakers, my eye test has told me that Arkansas is much better than Texas A&M. Texas A&M is coming off a win and a cover last week at home against Miami, 17-9. The week before, 17-14 loser to App State as a 17-point home favorite. So in their 2 games versus FBS opponents, Texas A&M has averaged just 15.5 points and 225.5 yards per game. Absolutely anemic. They're number 23 in the AP poll after starting number 6 to start the year. And at 23, I still think they're overrated. Arkansas coming off a scare last week. They were caught looking ahead, but they pulled out a win, 38-27 over FCS team Missouri State. This is an Arkansas team that wears people down defensively. The Razorbacks averaged 74 offensive plays per game. 64.9% of those plays are runs. Yet, if you look at their yardage, it's almost 50-50. They average 246 yards per game on the ground and 252 via the air. This is an A&M team that only averages 54 offensive plays per game. Part of that has to do with the slower tempo that they play at. And it also has to do with the fact that they can't sustain drives. As a matter of fact, what's really alarming to me, Ellie, considering how good Arkansas can run the ball, is opponents are averaging 34 minutes and 29 seconds in time of possession against the Texas A&M Aggies. I'm taking Arkansas here, plus the 2.5, and I would highly recommend buy it up to 3, which is a key number. It's not a sign of weakness. It's smart sports betting. And remember, folks, the juice only counts when you lose.
That's only kind of true, but you got it. All right. So yes, we are going to go Arkansas plus 3. We want to buy the hook. The hook is the half point for anybody out there who's new to the sports betting lingo. Buying a half point is called buying the hook. You can find more of Ross Benjamin's premium plays over at picksandparlays.net. He's 20-11 in combined college football and NFL for the start of the season, so he's hot, and his premium picks are available for you over at picksandparlays.net. Use that promo code NFL. It saves 20% off the entire site. Okay, so now let's move into the NFL. Man, I'm doing an experiment with myself right now, where I'm really studying line movement and I'm writing down, this is what the line did, and this is what I think is going to happen. I was 8-5 over these picks, but I am kicking myself over that Seahawks 8.5. It was like all week long, we're all like, it's too many points. Is it though? You know, like they set that line that way for a reason. And I feel like we all just kind of gave the middle finger to it, just seeing what happened with the Niners and the Bears. It was a complete overreaction on my part, and I know a lot of other people's part. And then when the line hit a 9 and then a 9.5, I was like, oh, I'm so screwed. So here we go. We got the Falcons. They're at the Seahawks. Hawks are a -2. And in this one, we have, where are they? 78% of the money, 71% of the tickets is on the Falcons. The +3 for the Falcons is now a +1. So that line is moving properly. We've got the -2 and a total of 42. So how do we do this, Ross? Tell me what the play is.
Boy, I mean, if you just look at this matchup from the outside looking in, it is a terrible one. You know,
Yeah.
and I would say that both of these teams will be very lucky if they reach 5 wins this year. Now, Atlanta's coming off back-to-back losses in which they covered both games as underdogs. They blew a big lead to New Orleans in their home opener in week 1. And then last week made a valiant effort in a comeback against the Rams that fell short. Since 1997, NFL teams coming off back-to-back straight-up losses in which they covered on both occasions as underdogs have gone 4-25 straight up, and that's since 1997. And if they're playing an opponent off a straight-up loss, like Seattle's coming off that loss last week against San Francisco, they dropped to 1-17 straight up since 1997. Remember, folks, that's a betting angle that involves all teams in this exact situation, not just one specific team. Seattle under Pete Carroll, 74-30 straight up at home, 60-41-3 against the spread, including a opening week win as a home underdog of +6 and over Denver. And at home, that includes 8-0 straight up, and ATS is a home favorite of -4.5 or less when they're coming off a straight up loss. So they've succeeded a lot with Pete Carroll here. I know it's a different batch of players. I know Russell Wilson's not there, but it's not like they're playing a juggernaut. They have struggled on offense, but Atlanta is far from a good defense. Beside that, since 2020, Atlanta 4-12 straight up in ATS on the road, and also 0-3 straight up in ATS off back-to-back covers during that same time frame. I'm taking Seattle, but I'm going to the money line, Ellie. I'm going to take Seattle -130 over Atlanta, and probably what's going to be the least watched game of the day.
Yeah, well, I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm going to watch that game. But yeah, I would not lay the 2 points with them. The money line is the way to go on this one for me. Absolutely. People, remember, if you're looking for more of Ross Benjamin's premium plays, head over to picksandparlays.net. Use the promo code NFL. It saves you 20% off the entire site. He's 20-11 across the board on college and NFL picks so far this season. So you want to get on this bandwagon and start making money with Ross Benjamin. Thank you so much for stopping by the Power Hour today, Ross. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Ellie. Appreciate it.
You got it. All right. All right. So some great picks out of Ross Benjamin. Up next from the Insiders Room, I've got Nick Parsons with us here today. He's going to give us 2 college football and an NFL as well. How's it going, Nick?
Yeah, fantastic. Didn't have the greatest Saturday, but bounced back with a massive Sunday, so we can get into that in a bit.
Saturday kicked my butt, but yeah, Sunday wasn't so bad. I'm still bitter about the Seahawks, but that was my one big moment.
Right.
So let's talk some college football here. We've got Texas at Texas Tech. Now, Texas is 2-1, but they are 3-0 against the spread. Texas Tech is also 2-1, but they're 1-2 against the spread. I saw this line started at -4. All that money is on the Longhorns, and it's moved up properly to a 6.5. The total is a 60. What are we going to do with this one?
Yeah, well, a couple of in-state rivals here. This is they open up Big 12 play here in week 4. Both of them are 2-1 straight up. Texas beat Louisiana Monroe 52-10, and then it had that really close game at home against Alabama where it lost 20-19. And then it beat Texas San Antonio last week 41-20. And so, as you mentioned, yeah, I think a lot of people are quick to jump on the Longhorns here. They've started off 3-0 against the spread. And now Texas Tech, it won 63-10 over Murray State. Then it held on for the 33-30 overtime win over Houston. Last week, it suffered its first defeat. That was at North Carolina State. It lost 27-14. Now it's back at home. It's a sizable dog here, I think. But I think the Red Raiders, they have a shot in this one. Now Texas Tech, of course, it plays with revenge here. It got smashed by Texas last season, 70-35. Now in that Texas's last game there, quarterback Hudson Card, he had 161 yards passing. He had a touchdown, and they also ran the ball for 298 yards. So I mean, overall, clearly the Longhorns, they've been great. They've averaged 37.3 points per game. They've only allowed 16.7. On the other side of the field, Donovan Smith, he had 214 yards to the air and a touchdown in the Red Raiders loss to NC State. They finished with 353 yards of offense. They just couldn't get anything going on the ground. Overall, Texas Tech does have the offensive numbers to stay in this one, though, with Texas. They averaged 36.7 points per game, and they actually haven't been that terrible on the defensive side either. They only concede 22.3. And so, yeah, I'm going to go contrarian on this one, Ellie. That's sort of what I like to do. I do think that home field matters. Lots of great different situational factors, I think, here working for Texas Tech. So no outright or anything, but grab as many points as you can.
Grab as many points as you can. That's always a good rule of thumb. Okay, so shoot, I forgot what I was going to say, but that's okay. We're going to keep moving right along. So check out the Insiders Room over at picksandparlays.net. I know that you guys are number 5 on the NFL leaderboards right now. You started off the season pretty hot. If you want to save money on your Insiders Room premium plays, then just use the promo code NFL. It's going to save you 20% off when you are over at the site. So definitely check that out. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Ring that bell for notifications. The Power Hour is on every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. You never want to miss any of these free picks. So make sure you're ringing that bell and we'll alert you when they come on. Okay, up next, we're talking Oregon at Washington State. Now, these are two of my favorite teams. I was a big Mike Leach Washington State fan, but I'm a huge Ducks girl as well. I know it's totally contradictory to what you're supposed to say when you root for sports, but this is how I do it. Oregon and that BYU game, that was a humdinger is what that was. Now Oregon is a -6.5. 95% of the cash is on them. Total on this is 57.5. What do you got going on here, Nick?
Yeah, a little contrarian again here, but it's an interesting, afternoon Pac-12 matchup. Yeah, Oregon's 2-1 straight up and against the spread. As you mentioned, it hammered BYU 41-20 as a 3.5-point favorite last week. And Washington State, it's 3-0 straight up, but just 2-1 against the spread for bettors. That includes last week's 38-7 win over Colorado State. It was a 17-point favorite in that one. Now, in that win for Oregon over BYU, Bo Nix, he had 222 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. The Ducks, they averaged 38 points per game, but their weakness is definitely on the defensive side of the ball. They're allowing 27.7. But their ground game, it's totally potent for sure. It averages 205 yards per game so far this year. And Washington State, as I said, it beat Colorado State 38-7 last week. It was a lopsided blowout. Cameron Ward, he had 299 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. These teams, I guess they're sort of polar opposites. So it's really going to be interesting. Washington State gets the job done on the defensive side of the ball. It only allows 12.7 points per game while averaging 26.3 of its own. And so, yeah, Oregon, it really relies on its run game, Ali. Washington State has yet to allow a rushing touchdown so far this season. Personally, I just think the Ducks are getting too much respect here on the road. I think that this could be a sneak peek of a client play coming up here, Ali. But I like Washington State in the 6.5 points. And maybe even consider sprinkling a little bit on the money line. But that's my play here. Grab the points and Washington State at home.
Yeah, it feels like a big letdown spot, and that with 80% of the cash on Oregon, it doesn't seem like the line quite moved enough for me, but we'll wait to see what happens. I like where you're going with, though. Just that BYU game was a lot, and I could see them getting let down on the road here. Washington State, go Cougs, taking them plus the 6.5. All right, so everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and head over to picksandparlays.net. Find the Insiders Room and use the promo code NFL. It's going to save you 20% off whatever you grab from the Insiders Room. And when you like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, that is going to bring you the reminder that every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, the Power Hour is going live with lots more free picks. Okay, so the Thursday night game. Here we go. The Steelers and the Browns. We have got the Browns -5, the totals of 38. What do you see happening in this matchup, Nick?
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup for sure. I mean, divisional opponents, clearly each of them, I think, got caught looking ahead to this game because, they each lost. New England, it was favored last week by 2.5 points. It wound up winning 17-14. I guess it might have closed at 3, but most people would have got it at 2.5. I had New England in that one, and I actually went 4-1 overall last Sunday. But yeah, clearly Cleveland's collapse was much more epic than Pittsburgh. In fact, the Steelers weren't even leading ever in that game. But the Browns, they had a big lead going into the fourth there, and they really blew it to the Jets and Joe Flacco. I actually had New York last week in that one. So I didn't even need the 6.5 points. So, as you said, what can we expect here in this short week between these division rivals? That's the $1 million question. Yeah. Nick Chubb, he looked great for the Browns last week. He had 2 touchdowns. But I think, we all thought that this Cleveland Browns defense was going to be a lot better than it is. But it's been terrible so far. In the first 2 games, it's allowed a combined 55 points. And to let Joe Flacco torch you like that, he had 307 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, Jacoby Brissett, he was efficient for Cleveland. He was 22 of 27. He threw for just 229 yards, though, and 1 passing touchdown. Now, the Steelers, they're kind of the opposite. They've only allowed 34 points this year, but they've only scored 37. So the issue for Mitch Trubisky and Pittsburgh again this season is on the offensive side of the ball. Last week, he had 168 passing yards and a touchdown. Yeah, a couple of 1-1 teams here. One team that can't score, one team that can't defend on the short week. It's a little bit difficult, but I think the best way to approach this one, I'm going to go with the under in this one. I like the total. I know that the first 2 Thursday games have gone under the number. I know that this is a super low total, but I just think that we're going to see a lot of running from the Browns again. And I think that Pittsburgh will once again have trouble finding the end zone. And so I'm suggesting a play on the under in this one, Ellie.
Yeah, I think 5-0 to the under are the primetime games right now. The only one going over was that the one we watched last night, the Bills.
Right.
And that was 47.5 and it hit a 48, so it just barely went over the total for that matter. So the unders have been trending. And then as far as where the money is at, we have 68% of the money and 62% of the tickets on the over, and a 40.5 turns to a 38. So it's moving the wrong way, which makes me think that the under is the play. Same thing, 63% of the cash, 61% of the tickets are on the Steelers, but the line is moving towards the Broncos. So just a lot of weird line movement happening with this game. So make sure you're doing your homework, people, before you bet. But I love the under 38. That's the way we're going to roll. Don't forget, check out the Insiders Room over at picksandparlays.net. That's where all the premium plays are. And use this promo code NFL to save you 20% off whatever you get from the Insider's Room. Also, let's like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications every Monday through Friday. It's the Power Hour at 3 p.m. Eastern right here on the Max Wagers Network. Nick Parsons, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for all of your great picks. Everybody check out the Insider's Room Discord. My name's Allie Burns, and this has been a Power Hour.